Hello, beautiful alchemist. Welcome to Reiki Radio. I am your host, Yolanda. And as always, we have a beautiful conversation for you today, and I'm sure it will inspire you, your path, and your process of awakening, whatever that looks like, feels like, or means to you. I had the honor of meeting an incredible woman today. Her name is Susan Stone. And Susan was another contributor in the book that was put together by Ifatiah White, an anthology called Reiki, Heart and Soul, One Bright Light, Many Stories. And I would love for you to be able to read all of the incredible stories in this book. There are 22 stories from Reiki practitioners and teachers. I will put the link down in the show description. But Susan is one of the contributors in the book. And when I read her story, I knew right away I cannot wait to have a conversation with this woman to hear more. Susan is an artist, an author, a Reiki master. She is an intuitive healer and counselor. She's an ordained minister and an initiated shamanic practitioner. We will talk about all of these beautiful things, but her story, I'm telling you, is going to inspire you in many, many beautiful ways. But after a massive heat stroke back in 2013, Susan had to give up her career as a professional gardener and reinvented herself as an entrepreneur. And she opened her first brick and mortar business back in 2017, and it was called ZenDen. And it was a metaphysical store. There were crystals and sage, and it was a gift store. But she also held a Reiki clinic in the store, and she'll tell us more about that. But since then, she now has an art school. And through the art school, she teaches and presents all of the arts. So, creative, music, healing, mystic arts, all of the arts. And you will learn more about that as well. But I really want to share with you, and we talk about it in the episode. She has two books that she has written on top of her contribution to the book done by Ifatiah. So her first book is called We Heard You, which is a message for humanity. And I will put the link for that down in the show description. How that came about is fascinating. But she also wrote a book called The Magical Nature of Humans. And that is an anthology of sorts. She put together some stories from all different people who reveal the magical nature of us being human. So the link for that is down in the show description as well. But I want to thank Susan so much for coming and sharing. Her story in the book is on page 39, and it's called I Am a Walking Miracle. And you will find out why. Like, truly, she overcame so much. She went through so much. I don't think I've ever met anyone talk about and embrace their dark night of the soul the way that Susan has, and really recognizing the power of the challenges that she went through before discovering not just Reiki, but even herself in new ways. So I hope that you enjoy this conversation, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, loves, we are here today with the beautiful Susan Stone, who is also a contributor in the new book, Reiki, Heart and Soul, Many Stories, One Bright Light. Thank you for taking time to come have this conversation today, Susan.
Oh, totally my pleasure, Yolanda. Been waiting a long time to meet you.
Yeah, well, I have to tell you, well, I did tell you before we recorded, but so everyone else knows, your story in the book was so incredible, but it was so beautifully written. And I was saying, this woman must be a writer, and you are. So we're going to get into your other books as well and what you've written. But your story around Reiki really, I wished it was longer. There were more details. I was like, what happened? I was on the edge of my seat. So before we get into that story, I was just curious what your relationship was to anything, I guess, in the realm of spirituality prior to the accident. What was your life like?
Oh my goodness. Before the accident, that would have been 1988. So I didn't really come to until 1997,
Mm,
meaning that I was a raging alcoholic.
mhm,
It's the only disease that runs on both sides of my family, and I was deeply afflicted. I was raised by people with addictions, and that was the only life I knew. And my life was just not working. I was broken. I
Mhm.
was a broken human being. I thought I was defective. I thought life was working for everybody else, but that's not me. And I didn't know why it didn't work for me. But it was painful and it was difficult to never feel at home anywhere. So I was lost
Yeah.
until I found Reiki, which was 3 months into my sobriety.
So, can we go back to that really quickly too before we get to the
Sure.
accident? Because as you're even saying what you're saying, it's interesting to me that for a lot of people, there's something that breaks us. I mean, like quite literally breaks something within us that will create this catalyst or connection to Reiki or some sort of healing in some way. But what was it that even prompted the sobriety? Did something happen that brought you to that
Well, after
decision?
living 9 years on narcotics
Ah,
after the accident,
yeah.
my body was just breaking down. I had perforated ulcers. I was literally bleeding to death
Wow.
and didn't get what my real problem was.
Yeah.
Um, there was a lot of people who wagged their finger at me and told me what my problem was,
Hmm.
but they never said the nature of my real problem was. I just felt like a defective human being. I just never felt like life worked for me. And I was an abused child, and I graduated from that into an abusive marriage. And I call the first 39 years of my life my PhD program.
Yeah.
I got to experience all of the chronic pain, depression, addictions, pain, physical, emotional, mental pain. I got to experience all of that until I completely just broke down.
Yeah.
I didn't have any strength left when I crawled through the rooms of AA in 97.
Wow.
So that almost decade, that 9 years was one of the darkest periods of my life.
Yeah.
I was uh, I was broken on so many levels. I didn't know if I could be retrieved. I honestly did not think I could be saved.
Yeah. Well, this was the part. So now I'm placing in my head because you're sharing that the alcoholism was going on far long before the accident happened. And then after the accident, um, all of these other things started to happen where because you did say in the book where you became sober and you were really there was something specifically you said, oh, you questioned if you had the courage to live through the pain that you were
Mhm.
enduring. I was like, wow, that's really powerful. I mean, there were just so many things you said that struck me. But could you tell us about that? Because you write about having this accident. So if you could tell everyone about that, because it was a very pivotal point. But then that pain that you described and what happened when you sneezed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I was on my way to work one morning. It was a bright January morning in Ohio. There was no snow on the road. I was traveling in a straight line about 55 miles an hour down a country road on my way to work, and I went under the shade of a yew tree that was hanging over the road, and there was black ice there. I couldn't see it. You can't see black ice,
Mm-hmm.
but all of a sudden I was in the oncoming lane, facing another car coming at me. As quickly as I could, I tried to steer my car to the right back into my lane, and I overcompensated, and my tire caught the gravel and slung my car up onto a bridge that was over a dry creek. So my car was suspended on the guardrail, and it had tore out the whole undercarriage of my car. My tire was sitting sideways. It took a crane to get my car up and set it down on its nose to bring it down off that bridge.
Wow.
But when my car came to a stop, I was kind of assessing if I was okay. I didn't feel any pain or anything at the time. I looked out my window and there was a man waving at me. He was on the other side of the dry creek and all four of his tires were in the air. He had hit the same patch I did just ahead of me and his vehicle flipped.
Wow.
So he was just yelling, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I appeared to be fine, and now I know I was in shock.
Yeah.
So it took hours for me to realize I was injured. And by that time, I had consumed a great deal of alcohol.
Hmm.
My boss had picked me up from the accident and said, "You're going into shock. I need to get you some lunch." And we had a couple of beers. I was working as a bartender that night. So throughout the day, I was becoming a little more uncomfortable. I put an ace bandage around my ribs. I was just feeling kind of pinchy.
Yeah.
But I mean, just nothing severe. I went to work.
Yeah.
And I guess it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I worked in a little tiny neighborhood bar right next to the GM truck plant. So I had guys that came in off shift. We had 3 shifts. So I even had, if I worked the day shift, I had guys coming in off shift at 7 o'clock in the morning, getting a sandwich and a beer, or it could be in the afternoon. But the night shift was on, and I had the second shift in having cocktails
Yes.
and their dinner. So I'm entertaining everybody behind the bar, from behind the bar. Everybody's got their sandwiches and everybody's having a great time. And I sneezed and dropped to the floor. I mean, they went like this over the edge and like, where'd she go? I couldn't breathe. The compound fractured ribs in my side and back snapped
Wow.
when I sneezed. And I couldn't utter a word. I literally just dropped to the floor. I was laying on those nasty rubber mats behind
Yes.
my bar at nose level with all that stuff. But they called 911. The ambulance came. I handed one of the guys my keys so he could lock the doors behind me. And by that time, I had been sipping on something all night because I was getting more uncomfortable. So I had enough alcohol in my system that they would not treat me at the hospital.
Wow. Yeah.
They were treating me like I was a drunk. I, the bones did not come through my skin, and the nurse told me that they didn't legally have to repair them. They didn't have to take me into surgery and repair my ribs because they had not come through the skin, and I did not have health insurance. So
Mm.
they handed me 4 prescriptions for narcotics, and I lived on those pills for 9 years. I was in bed for 3 months after the accident. I actually hired one of the guys from the bar to take care of me. I needed someone big enough to pick me up and carry me into the shower. I needed someone that could take me to the bathroom, that could cook for me. I was living by myself and I could not literally move. I could not turn off the television that was 2 feet away from me. I was throwing spoons at it one night because I didn't have,
Oh.
this is before remote controls.
Yes.
You don't have remote controls. You got to go over and touch that screen. And I
Right.
couldn't reach over and touch it. So I was completely incapacitated. And it took a rib cage uh, brace and a lot of booze to get me through the day.
Mm.
I was, I couldn't breathe
I,
without these pills.
to tell you, Susan, when I read that part of the story, it just made me so angry about our healthcare system. I was like, what do you mean? Because she didn't have insurance, you just gave her medication and just sent her on her way. I mean, that was infuriating to read that part of the story.
That wasn't the last time that happened to me.
Wow.
That was not the last time that happened to me. Poor people are treated so shabbily
Hmm.
in our medical system. And I'm not a poor person. I just didn't have health insurance.
Right.
But I was treated as if I was nothing.
Yeah.
And you're just going to have to wait. And you just don't get this. And when I literally got married for for the health insurance
Hmm.
9 years ago, 10 years, well, it'll be 10 years ago this year,
Yeah.
because I had frozen shoulder.
Uh,
And as a healer, I had gone to every one of my people. I'd been to a massage therapist. I was doing yoga, acupuncture, all the alternative methods that I know of, and could not move my arm for 18 months.
yeah.
I finally got an appointment with a free clinic that had an orthopedic man that could possibly do surgery on my shoulder. I got to the appointment after waiting 6 weeks, and I didn't have a utility bill in my name at my house.
Mm.
I have 2 utility bills at work. I have 2 buildings that I pay utilities on that had to be my residence. And because my husband had that house before we met,
Yeah.
nothing was in my name.
Right.
I waited 6 weeks for an appointment. They would not see me. I went home in tears, just absolutely a puddle of tears. And I told my husband, I said, you have no idea what people have to go through in this country to be seen by a doctor. If you do
Mhm.
not have insurance, you are nobody. He goes, well, I'm not using mine. You should use it. He goes, well, you're just going to have to marry me. I said, well, you're going to have to ask.
Oh, that's so cute.
So we'd already been together 16 years.
Yeah.
So this will be 26 years together, and we've been
Wow.
married 10 now. But we got
Wow.
married for the insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not the first time I've heard that. And I mean it's a sad thing and we could have a whole another episode about that. I mean, really, truly it's terrible.
But most of my practice is with people who are uninsured.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been in practice for 25 years.
Yeah.
Most of the people I see are uninsured,
Right.
and they depend on Reiki to
Yeah.
get them through.
Well, this was the thing that I loved about your story, and I know we're inching towards it, but your experience, your first experience with Reiki was just like, wow. I felt like I was reading like the Chronicles of Narnia. I mean, it was just so incredible. It's like, oh my God,
Right? Who
this
lives in
is
this world, right?
amazing. Yes. So can we get to I guess where you met Holly
Okay.
and what that connection was. And, so you had gone through years of being on, this pain medication. You couldn't even change the channel on TV, just excruciating years of pain. How did that meeting happen?
Well, Holly was my first sponsor in AA.
Mm,
She weaned me off the narcotics,
yeah,
and she was a nurse. So she safely got me off the drugs. Some of the narcotics took longer than others.
yeah,
The booze was really, that was easy to put away. I actually couldn't stand the taste of it anymore. I
yeah,
kept drinking it because I didn't think I had a choice, and I had this craving I couldn't control.
right.
So I kept drinking it, but honestly, it started to taste like kerosene.
Mm,
So when someone told me I didn't have to do that anymore, man, I was really willing to give that up pretty quickly.
yeah,
But she safely got me off of that, and then she told me about her sponsor, who lived in Miami, Florida, and we were here in South Carolina. And she said I was about 3 weeks sober. I was getting terrible migraines as withdrawals from these drugs.
yeah,
I'd been having migraines for years, but this was really debilitating. She had invited me to a dinner party because her sponsor was going to be there. And I said, I'm feeling so bad. I just don't think I can come. She said, you really need to. You really need to just come for a few minutes and meet Elaine and spend a few minutes with her. And if you still feel bad, then go home.
mhm,
So I arrived. She immediately takes me into a dining room. There's a stool there. I meet Elaine Roy, and she and Holly talk for a few minutes, and she immediately begins to whoosh. She said, go ahead and close your eyes. I'm sitting on a stool, and she starts whooshing around my head. I could feel this air movement around my head. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And then flick, 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 like she's taking peanut butter off of her fingers. And she's going, oh my, Susan. She starts doing this circle around my head, and I felt a line right at my eyes. And it started moving very slowly up my head. And oh my gosh, I thought I was going to cry. And then it went, but the weird thing is the headache was still here from here down. It was only gone from here up. So she started whooshing again, pushing it down, 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 down. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Flick, flick, flick. Clap, clap, clap. And then it went off of my chin. And I went, oh my God, are you kidding me? I'm like, I mean, she said my eyes brightened up immediately.
yeah,
It was gone. You kind of squint and you keep your eyes really close when you've got a bad headache.
mhm,
It was gone. It was incredible. It was gone. Within minutes, it was
yeah,
gone. So the headache had gotten stuck in my shoulders, though. The next day, I felt this pain in my shoulders. And when I called her, she said, oh, you're right. That is stuck energy. We were at a party. I didn't have a chance to run it all the way through your body. Come by my office. And when I did, I laid on a massage table this time. And I was in her office, and she was able to prepare and able to talk to me about what she did and why she was doing what she was doing. And she was scanning my body first. And when she got to my rib cage, her arms flew up in the air and she said, "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. That must be very painful."
Mm,
She continued to scan my body and she said, "Oh, the Reiki's going to your left femur." I said, "Well, that was the last bone I broke, was my femur." And then she went down and down and, "Oh, this ankle, this is still healing." So she said, "The Reiki's also going to your ankle." And I said, "Well, I just got the cast taken off of that about 6 months ago." So I had a very severe break to my ankle
mm,
that I wore a cast for a year. And then no sooner get that cast off and I break my femur. So she didn't know anything about those accidents.
yeah,
All she knew about was the car accident. And so when she found that, I'm like, wow, how does she know that?
yeah.
But she could feel where the Reiki was going. So she, was clearing those areas, and we met 3 times. I didn't really notice any change after the first or the second session.
Mm,
Although I found her fascinating,
yeah.
completely fascinating. And the more she told me about Reiki, because I had never heard this word before,
Mm,
I knew nothing about this.
yeah.
So she started to explain to me a little bit about, kind of how it came to the United States and how it was for everyone and it worked on everything. And um, she was just really matter of fact. And I think she was also a nurse. So she was looking at it from a scientific and also from an experiential, perspective. So the third morning the morning after my third treatment, I woke up and I yawned and I kind of went, "Oh." I had not taken a deep breath in 9 years and I had a
Wow.
full yawn. I wasn't in pain. I jumped up, ran into the bathroom, lifted up my pajama top, and my ribs were visibly back in place. My rib cage was off like this.
Mm,
My ribs on the left side were scraping on my hip bone when I leaned to the left. The last 3 ribs had fallen apart, basically.
wow.
And so they were back in place. I felt myself front and back. There was no bumps, there was no pain, there was no burning. Oh, Yolanda, I was reborn. I couldn't believe, I couldn't believe it.
I mean, that's incredible. I really, reading that, I was like, wow, because, it's amazing how Reiki really does meet us for, what it is we're personally going through, what it is that we need. And when you hear someone that was going through the agony, but also that to have your ribs in that type of condition, to hear the way that the energy work supported you was just, it was mind blowing. Like, wow, what can't this help us with? So I can't even imagine then your state of mind, because prior to this, I mean, you said you thought she was fascinating, but did you have any connection to any form of spirituality? Were you curious about
No,
any of this realm
no,
before?
I am coming out of the darkness.
Yeah.
I am coming out of over 25 years of darkness.
Yes.
Something really tragic happened to me when I was 12 years old,
Mm,
and I did not draw another sober breath
wow.
until I was almost 39. It was, yeah, it
Wow.
was it was just really hard.
Yeah.
So no,
So
there was no spirituality.
none.
Nobody
No.
came to rescue me.
Right.
I was living in the dark.
But that's very interesting too. And I'm like, should I ask you now or after? I'll ask you about it after we get to your entrance into Reiki yourself. But that's another thing I was curious about. So I can't even imagine how elated you must have been, how mind blown you must have been to have been in pain for that many years and to be in the condition you were in. And then all of a sudden you could yawn and it not hurt. Like that alone. I can't
Driving a
imagine.
car and it not hurt.
That's,
Every mile I drove a car, the vibration
mm,
was white knuckling.
yeah,
It was, I was a professional gardener.
right.
I was a professional gardener for over 30 years. So my job was to pull on hoses, lift things,
Right.
plant things, cut things down. You got to move your arms, you got to
Right.
move your body. And I stayed as numb as I could. Um, I built up such a tolerance for drugs and alcohol that most people didn't know I drank
Wow.
because they'd never seen me sober.
Right.
And I wasn't the kind of drunk that fell over or slurred her words. People were handing me their keys at the end of the night, asking
Yeah.
me for a ride home because I was so accustomed to being saturated all the time that it became my persona, it became
Yeah.
my identity. So, yeah, that was weird.
Wow. So as you were going through this, then as you were, Holly was helping you get off of the medication, the alcohol, and all of these things. Did it take some time before you personally were like, you know what, I think I want to learn Reiki? How did that happen for you?
The first thing that happened is that my roommate put a book in my hands called
Mm.
Conversations with God
Oh, yes.
by Neil Donald Walsh.
Hmm.
And that gave me the first insight that we had any control over our own destiny. That gave me the first clue that I could move past and beyond what I had been living.
Right.
I didn't know what I was going to do, where I was going to go. I lost almost all my friends instantly because they were my drinking buddies. They
Right.
weren't really my friends. So I was alone again, and starting all over again. And the spirituality began in the rooms of AA. It's sought through prayer and meditation to
Yeah.
improve our conscious contact. So that began almost immediately. I couldn't stop researching energy medicine.
Mm.
I looked at Reiki as energy medicine. And so I'm looking at all the modalities. I'm looking at crystal healing and Qigong and acupressure and acupuncture. And I'm reading now miracle stories of people who've been healed by Reiki
Right.
and people who've been healed by these other modalities. And I am jazzed. I'm like, a whole new world opened up for me. I didn't know this existed.
Yeah.
I had been living in bars. I had been living in bars without windows. I couldn't tell if it was day or night,
Wow.
until I moved to South Carolina. Then I went to beach bars so I could get a tan while I was getting drunk. Sorry, not very spiritual, but that was where I was at.
Right.
That's who I was. And it took a long, long time in order to realize that I was living in a very different reality than other people were.
Hmm.
So, with that little spark of hope I now had for my future, I began to learn things about healing. And I couldn't ignore this miracle that had happened to me. And I was not going to minimize it by moving on, right away. I had to read everything I could read on it.
Yeah.
I had to speak to every person who had ever mentioned Reiki or knew what it was so I could pick their brains about. I needed to understand, how did this happen? I'm kind of a science geek.
Yeah.
I need to know the physics behind, how did this happen?
Right.
This was, I didn't feel it happen. I don't want to say I didn't deserve it, because I now know we all deserve this.
Yeah.
But I was still so full of shame over the many years that I spent drunk. I hadn't gotten through the steps of AA yet. I hadn't learned how to forgive. I hadn't learned how to make amends.
Mm.
I hadn't learned that stuff yet. So, in that process, I began to heal on every level,
Yeah.
mentally, physically, spiritually. And I got to be reacquainted with the Creator that I thought was so disappointed in me.
Mm.
I just couldn't even pray. I was so ashamed of the life I had been living. I could not even pray. So the fact that I live a life now as a shaman and an ordained minister, Yolanda, Reiki saved my life. It opened up every door that appeared to me after that. Without that miracle, I was crippled and still in the dark. Even if I was without the booze and the pills, I was still in the dark. I had nothing. And I had drank it all away.
Yeah.
And I got to rebuild not just a life, I got to build a life that I think I'm the happiest woman I've ever met. I swear, I feel like the most fortunate person in the entire world. Everything that I experienced during that first 40 years, I have met on my massage table weekly. And now I can say with absolute confidence, I don't know how you feel, but I know how I felt when I was going through that.
Right.
I know what chronic pain feels like.
Yeah.
I know what it feels like to go through a divorce, to lose everything material. I
Mhm.
know what it feels like to lose your self respect and to not be able to look at yourself in the mirror and to brush your teeth in the shower. I know what that's like.
Yeah.
So everything that has come to me in the Reiki room brings oh, it brings me that sense of purpose. And now I understand the first 40 years of my life. I was experiencing everything that the people I will serve for the rest of my life are experiencing.
I can't. Listen, I am trying not to cry, Susan. This is your the your story, yes, but the feeling behind what you're saying is so powerful. And I have to tell you, I'm so thankful that you're sharing your story with us. And it's just occurring to me how many people will really feel and understand what you're saying because of, possibly having gone through it themselves or being in a space where maybe they feel like what you've described. I mean, this is just, I'm very, very thankful. I'm so thankful that we got to meet today, that I got to read your story, but
Me too.
also that you're
Well, I
sharing.
know I'm not the only person who lives in hell, who
Yeah,
had to live in hell.
right.
There are so many people who feel stuck in their marriage, stuck in their health condition, feel stuck in their job, feel stuck. They
Yeah.
don't know their purpose. They don't know what to do with themselves. And I'm so grateful to be on the receiving end so that I can encourage them to keep putting one foot in front of the other and to whatever tiny thing we can grab with gratitude
Hmm.
is going to increase our our perspective, but it also, gosh, gratitude for not dying out there and not leaving this legacy for my daughter. I am so grateful that I healed from this. She watched me take my last drink when she was 19 years old.
Wow.
She's going to be 46.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, she's lived. My grandchildren have never seen that part of me. They've never seen a sick or an injured Honey. Honey's my grandma name.
That's so cute.
Yeah, I met my husband 3 years after I got sober. So I was already on this road to recovery. But he watched me get my Reiki 1 and 2.
Mhm.
He watched me travel to the mountains and get my level 3 masters.
Yeah.
He watched me travel and go, become a shaman and spend the time I had to with the Cherokee Nation.
Yeah.
So they adopted me in my 50th year.
Wow.
The miracles and the blessings that have happened to me. Now, I know, did Ife Tayo tell you that I was struck by lightning in 2010?
No. No.
It hit me in the shoulder and it went out both of my eyes.
What?
I was going blind after 5 eye surgeries after this lightning strike. Ife Tayo invited me to a quantum healing session at her home about 4 years ago.
Mhm.
It was in August. When I walked in the room, I could not see any person without shading my eyes because she has a big sun porch and she was hosting us in this sun porch. So I'm going like this and I'm recognizing people's shoes and hearing their voices and saying hi. And so 20 of us were lined up in chairs. I'm in the front row. Ife Tayo was sitting on a futon right next to me. And it was an hour long and about Teresa Yates was playing the sound bowls
Mm.
while these two other women were doing this meditation.
Yeah.
So she's doing the sound bowls. We're listening to the beautiful percussion. And one of the women says, now we're going to work on your DNA. It felt like someone pulled me from my solar plexus out of my chair and onto the floor.
Yeah.
I just went with it. I just laid there. I wasn't dizzy. I didn't fall out of my chair. I just got on the floor and laid there with my eyes closed. 30 minutes later, she said, "Okay, everybody, rub your hands, come out of the meditation, come back into the room." And when I opened my eyes, I could see every person in there. My eye surgeons just, I had five of them, just released me from their care in October because I read the line below 2020.
Wow.
I cannot explain how that happened. But what I did glean from that is that Reiki heals at the quantum level.
Hmm.
That is the level at which all of us heal.
Yeah.
So I don't know how quantum physics works any more than I know how my television works, but I can still use it. It
Right.
does not require my understanding. It does not require my understanding.
Yes. Yes. Well,
So it just put a whole new spotlight on Reiki.
yeah.
And why and how, at what level does that work? It just blows my mind.
Yes. I love that you're saying this because it reminds me of, I always tell people, because people ask me why, and you should see all the books over here, but I love to study and learn where all of these systems, philosophies, all of these practices are essentially pointing to the same thing, but from
Mhm.
different lenses and different angles.
Right.
And I always tell people it's amazing how one system will help you understand Reiki in a totally different way, or anything you study will help you understand another piece a totally different way.
Exactly.
But I have to ask you too, Susan, because with what happened in your story, what year was it? This happened in the late 90s, all of this, and with your introduction to Reiki.
Reiki was 97.
Yes.
I by 2000, I was a Reiki 2.
Okay.
So within the first 2 years of sobriety, I was already looking for classes.
Well,
I
that
was
was my
already,
question back then. Was it
yeah,
hard to find?
there were not many
Right.
practitioners. No, no,
Right.
no, there was not. But, you know, the angels have got my back as they've got us all.
Yeah.
And they guided me to a massage place.
Hmm.
I was working a lot of hours and I needed massages. And so I found this little massage place. And there was this little flyer for Reiki 1 and Reiki 2. And the woman was traveling. There was no masters here to
Yeah.
teach. So Donna Brown was coming from Massachusetts. And she would come to Bluffton, South Carolina, every year for a little vacation, and she would teach Reiki classes.
Mm.
So I took my 1 and 2 from her, 2 different years. Reiki 1, I took one summer, and the next summer I took Reiki 2. And then I waited. Wasn't waiting. I was in practice. Reiki 2 gave me the ability to work long distance and to work on my clients. And so I'm studying every modality. I'm studying everything I can get my hands on. I travel to New York and I study with Eric Pearl in the Reconnection.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes.
So I go up there 2 weekends in a row with my chiropractor, and she and I get certified in Reconnection.
Hmm.
So there I see two children on opposite ends of a massage table. There's 150 people in the room.
Hmm.
There's 50 massage tables, and everybody's paired up on a client. We're all working on each other. These little 11-year-olds are focusing their attention on this woman on the table who begins to levitate.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if it's because she is Indian and that would not be uncommon in her belief system,
Yeah.
levitation,
Yeah.
that type of thing, or if it had anything to do with her or not.
Yeah.
She didn't even know she was rising off the table. The little girls had their eyes closed. Everybody else was just kind of, don't say anything. You don't want to drop her.
Right.
But it was amazing. So I'm experiencing all of these very, very cool modalities, and I'm having success in each one of them, or at least seeing the progress and the potential of each of these modalities. And then a medicine woman in North Carolina calls me, and she wants to trade me reconnection, me training her in reconnection
Yeah.
for her doing my level 3 master in
Oh,
Reiki.
wow.
So I travel up there. We spend a weekend together. I reconnect her and she attunes me. Well, I come back to my clients after that. They're like, holy smoke, what have you done? I said, what's wrong? Or did I hurt you or something? They're like, oh my God, it feels like waves coming out of your hands. Everybody noticed
Yeah.
how much more energy I had.
Hmm.
Um, I was getting a little concerned because I wasn't feeling heat coming out of my hands anymore.
Mm.
I know that I am not big enough to stop Reiki from flowing.
Yeah.
I will have this to the end of my days, whether I ever intentionally use it or not.
Right.
What I know about Reiki is that I can't get in its way. I
Hmm.
can't do this wrong.
Yeah.
Um, but when I first started, man, I had hot hands,
Yeah.
really hot hands, tingly hot. And then that kind of faded.
Yeah.
My patients were still, or my clients were still getting well, and
Hmm.
they could feel stuff, but I wasn't feeling it until I got my master's.
Hmm.
That has never waned. I mean, that has never worn off. It just gets more and more all the time. The intuition gets broader, the which had a little bit to do with the lightning strike. I can actually hear people on the other side now. So, but
Well,
it's wild.
there's so many things, Susan. Gosh, I'm so glad that I met you today. There's a few things. One, a lot of people say that, interestingly enough. A lot of people have that experience where I did too, where I was like, wait, are my hands, is this broken? Like, what happened? And then it comes back around. But you also mentioned in the book in the heavenly helpers. So that made me curious about your connection to, do you feel the presence of being supported when you're working on other people or even when you're sitting with yourself? And was that
Absolutely.
something totally new for you too?
Well, after I got struck by lightning, it became common.
Hmm.
As a little child, I could feel people's medical conditions.
Oh, wow.
I just thought it was impolite to talk about it.
Yeah.
Somebody would walk in or sit down and obviously have terrible back pain or have a very sore knee or something, and nobody was talking about it. So I
Hmm.
just thought it was impolite.
Yeah.
I was probably in my 20s before I realized that I was an empath or had even heard a word describing what I feel
Right.
because I was obviously feeling things that other people weren't picking up on.
Yes.
I'm sorry, go back to the question.
The heavenly helpers.
The
Was that
heavenly
new?
helpers, I can hear them. I can sometimes see them,
Hmm.
and everyone brings their own with them
Yeah.
to a Reiki session. Everyone brings their ancestors, everyone brings their angels, everyone brings their guides.
Hmm.
Since I got struck by lightning, I can hear them. They have messages for the people on the table.
Mm.
And they also instruct me and tell me things I couldn't possibly know that will actually help somebody.
Yeah.
Case in point, I had a woman who I'd never met. She picked up a brochure off the front of my building and was just curious about Reiki.
Hmm.
She lays down on the table. I say my prayer to get my own ego out of the way. And this woman in a flight attendant uniform, Pan Am
Mm.
specifically, pops up right on the other side of the table.
Oh, wow.
And she's showing me that this woman is looking for a place to crash her car. She wants her
Mm.
suicide to look like an accident.
Oh, no.
And there is nothing about this woman that would indicate that she's depressed, unhappy. She's beautiful, well put together. She's driving a lovely car. She has beautiful nails. And there's nothing that indicates that she's in trouble.
Right.
But this woman is telling me that her name is a short version of a longer name. And what it sounds like to me is either Jin or Jen, like a Gin or a Jen, but she said it's not Jennifer.
Hmm.
So that's what I immediately jumped to. And long story shorter, the woman says, I don't believe, I told the woman that she had a loved one that was concerned about her and not to quit 5 minutes before her miracle.
Mm.
She got agitated. She said, I don't believe in that. I gave her one more opportunity to try to frame it in a slightly different way, and she got up off the table.
Wow.
She went out in the other room, started putting her shoes on. She stopped tying her shoes. She looked at me and she said, Genevieve. And the little blonde woman starts jumping up and down. And I said, yes, Genevieve. She said, that was my mother's sister who died when I was 6 weeks old.
Wow.
And I said, well, she has watched over you your whole life, and she doesn't want you to quit 5 minutes before your miracle. She's telling me that whatever you're upset about or sad about is almost over. Well, she never came back. She paid me for the session, but a year later, I saw her in the grocery store. I didn't approach her,
Yeah.
but I knew that she had survived.
Right. Wow.
So that's what I mean by heavenly helpers. If
Yeah.
somebody needs something that they aren't figuring out for themselves or something that's putting them in danger, they'll make sure they find me so
Mhm.
I can tell them something that will help.
Yeah.
And I'm way past caring whether you believe me.
Right.
The evidence that they give is so specific. I couldn't possibly know these things. I
Yeah.
couldn't possibly
Yes.
know what a grandmother baked for their birthday, or, they'll have me smell something that they're baking for them.
Mm.
They'll have me, say something that sounds ridiculous to me. The child's grandfather, this giant man, came in while I had somebody's granddaughter on the table, and he gave me the impression that he was playing golf with Benjamin Franklin. It was something so bizarre, I didn't want to say it.
Yeah.
But I had to, because I know that what doesn't mean anything to me could mean everything to somebody else.
Right.
And so I told this 12-year-old at the time that her pops was playing golf with Benjamin Franklin. She goes, "Oh, I can't wait to tell Gigi." She said he always wanted to play golf with Benjamin Franklin. So it was one of his dreams, that because he knew he was dying and he
Yeah.
knew that he was heading to heaven, and that he was making plans to play golf there.
That is
So
so funny.
it was, yeah. So I get these great opportunities to give people comfort in a way that I, Susan Stone, couldn't possibly
Yes.
know anything about.
This is
Isn't it a
so
privilege?
incredible. It's incredible. And there's so many things of what you're saying, a lot embedded within your stories that I know are strong messages that other practitioners need to hear. So, again, I'm so thankful for what you're saying. And I know it's going to land and answer a lot of questions for certain, people are like, oh, that's
Sure.
why, and these kinds of things.
Isn't
But
that isn't that what's so interesting about Ifetayo's book?
mhm,
Is that everyone's path to Reiki is so
yes,
unique.
yes,
I loved reading these stories.
I
I
know,
love seeing all the paths
I
that
know.
we took to get here. It's so awesome.
No, it really, really is. And it's incredible. Again, like I was telling you prior to recording, it's fascinating to me to hear all of the ways that people are sharing this in the world. And so we have to get to how you're sharing it because I was like, wait, what? Like, anyway, everyone will hear in a minute what it is that you're doing in the classes and what it is that you offer. But I have to ask you this too, Susan. So I was saying before we started that reading your story in the book, I thought this woman has to be a writer or she should be. And you said, yes, I've written two books. Here they are.
Working on my third.
Yes. And so I wanted to know, with everything that you've just shared with us, the book We Heard You,
Mhm.
was that, where did that fall into the story? And what is that book about? Can you share a little bit with us?
So shortly after getting sober
Hmm.
and becoming a Reiki, um, I want to be in service. I feel like mm, I had some things to make up for.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was really trying to be of service, trying to make up for the selfish years that I had lived.
Yeah.
And I am camping every year. I meet this group of women in AA, and we camp on the beach at Hunting Island twice a year. We did this for the first 18 years I was sober. So I'm the first one up in the morning. I get up and make coffee, and I am waiting for that thin line to come across the ocean when I just burst into tears out of despair for the condition of our world. I had been tithing for years.
Mm.
I had sent more than $10,000 to save the children, feed the whales, Humane Society. I know I got those messed up, but there are so many good ways that
Yeah.
we are trying to help this planet, but I wasn't seeing anything actually working, and I
Right.
wasn't seeing where the money was being used, or just wasn't seeing anything getting better. So I felt like I was finally ready to say the prayer I had been wanting to say since I was a child.
Mm.
And that was, "You may now have all of me.
Wow.
I offer myself to the service of this planet and to you, Father. You know I will never give up. You know I will never stop.
Mm-hmm.
Please give me something that will actually help. And 3 weeks later, even though I didn't know how to type and I'd never written anything in my life, this book came out of the palms of my hands. I was awakened every day between 3:09 and 3:11, every day. And a woman's voice would say, call me her beloved, and ask me if I was ready to work. I would go down to my computer and I would write just feverishly. I'd be watching this movie and I was just writing what I saw for hours. And then I would read it after work that day, and I couldn't believe what I wrote that morning. I didn't have any idea for the book. I wasn't reading it while I was writing it.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, when I got home from work every day, I couldn't wait to read what I had written that morning. So I was like reading it for the first time. And I didn't believe a word of it.
Yeah.
It I wrote the last 50 pages first. There was a message to humanity from God.
Wow.
And that's what I wrote first. And I didn't believe it because I had lived in such a sheltered way. I didn't know the extent of man's inhumanity to man.
Mm-hmm.
It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I was distraught. And I had to do research for 6 years to prove to myself that every word of this book was true.
Wow.
Even though it's written as a novel, it reads like the evening news.
Wow.
Up to this war with Iran, so many things have happened since I wrote the book that had not happened yet. It
Wow.
was literally like premonitions of things.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to read the book. I wrote them down and I'm gonna put the links in the show description.
Good, good, good.
But also want to ask you about the other book too, The Magical Nature of Humans. So where did the inspiration for that come from?
Well, I owned ZenDen, which is a little crystal store right down the street from where I'm at now. I have got a little art school now, but I had this little crystal store, and every day people would come in and tell me their stories
Mm,
of being able to see angels or knowing that their children had been in an accident before the phone rang.
mm,
And there was this one lawyer, she was so funny. She goes, Susan, how am I going to break it to my family that I want to leave law? And I've discovered that I'm psychic. Like, how do I
mm.
tell my husband? Like, this is going to change our lifestyle. I
Right,
don't think psychics make as much as lawyers do. So, like, I
right.
don't know what to do about this. And so people started sending me their stories. So the magical nature of humans is almost like an anthology of me explaining these spiritual gifts of the spirit, or the gifts of the spirit that are chronicled in Corinthians. First Corinthians talks about the gifts of the spirit.
Mm,
Healing is one of them, but psychic abilities and there's many gifts of the spirit. Speaking in tongues, there's so many gifts of the spirit. But what I was realizing after these ordinary people told me extraordinary stories
yeah.
was that this happens to everybody. It's not just the Edgar Caseys of the world or the Sylvia Browns that know the phone's about to ring. There are people that are Marines that were teaching little kids how to close their psychic door because we have an elementary school right here that had Civil War. It was either a Civil War hospital or there was a hospital before the school was there. But
Uh,
there are students every year who came into my store to tell Miss Susan what you saw at school today. And these are kids who are seeing injured soldiers
wow.
and it scares them and they
Right.
don't want to see that, and it's getting them in trouble at school because they won't get to take their heads off their desk or they won't keep their eyes open. So I was meeting these kids and meeting all these amazing humans. It was like I was meeting the cream of humanity every day. And so their stories are the magical nature of humans.
Mm,
From a friend of mine who she's actually my housekeeper. She's becoming a forensic psychic.
wow.
She found a missing man on Hilton Head last year.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, I've got another friend who is also doing kind of forensic psychic. She saw a license plate of a hit and run driver that was responsible for killing somebody. We are all more tapped in than we realize we are.
Right.
What we do naturally, we do not think is a superpower. What somebody else does naturally seems like a superpower, but
Yes.
we don't include ourselves in what's unique and special. but each and every one of us have these incredible abilities. For instance, if your superpower is patience, you are going to think you got gypped. But if you're working with little kids or elders, that's the one to have.
Right.
So it's not everybody has these big jobs to do.
Yeah.
Some people are on the planet just to change the energy of the room they walk into, just to
Yes.
give birth to the child that's going to change the world.
You
So we
know,
don't want to minimize the
no.
importance of who we are and what we bring to the table, what each of us brings to the table. So I hope that everybody who reads that book finds themselves in those pages.
I love that. So I was thinking, wow, she needs to do a whole lecture on this topic. But it's funny you say that because I literally just a few days ago, someone was interviewing me. I don't even remember what we were talking about, but I mentioned Ifatayo, and that's what I was talking about. I said, we all have these gifts that we often don't realize. And the person I was talking to also knows Mama Ifatayo. And I said, she's like, if something was going on, she could just open her arms and you could collapse and that would be healing. And that's a gift. I mean, that's incredible. I'm not that
Oh, yeah.
person, so I'm in awe of people who have even those kinds of gifts. But you're absolutely right.
Oh, she
So,
cracked me wide open one time. She cracked my heart chakra open and I snotted all over her living room rug. Her cat was even like patting me on my head, feeling sorry for me. I was hysterically
oh
crying.
wow.
She cracked my heart open
Yeah.
and I didn't know it was closed. I didn't know it was closed.
Yeah.
But it had never been opened.
Hmm.
And I thought, oh, you brave humans walking around with these open hearts. Oh, that can be painful, man. So yeah, she's been a great teacher and a
Oh yeah.
beautiful friend for me.
No, she's incredible. I've still not met her in person yet, and every time
Oh,
I
you
t
haven't?
no. And
Oh,
I know I'm gonna fall apart as soon as I'm in her presence and I already know just gonna completely fall apart, and I can't wait for it to happen.
that's okay. She'll catch you.
Yes, I know she
She will
will.
embrace you with those beautiful arms, and she will catch you.
Yeah, no, I know she will. But I have to say, in that same vein, my heart just smiled to hear the work that you're doing. And you mentioned how you owned the ZenDen, but now, you have an art school. So could you tell us some of what you have going on now, but then the upcoming Reiki classes and also the work
Sure.
that's being done with children?
Well, 5 months after I closed the store,
Hmm.
I rented this classroom. This was the Old Town Hall, Port Royal. It's a 5,000 square foot building. I have most of the upstairs. The classroom is the old courtroom I'm sitting in now.
Hmm.
My office is the judge's quarters. The stage is where the judge's stand was.
Oh, wow.
This room converts to Sacred Sunday on Sundays. We have 20 to 35 people here every week
Mm.
doing meditation, playing with energy. I channel a message on the fourth Sunday. We have sound bath here, but we teach all the arts. The arts Port Royal is for the mystic arts, the healing arts, and the creative arts. As soon as we get a ukulele teacher, we'll be doing, or guitar teacher, we'll be doing music arts too. But I didn't want to just pigeonhole myself into one thing.
Right.
This was a way that I could expose the public and bring the community together for drum circles, for shaman journeys, for Reiki clinics,
Yeah.
for free classes. And our children in the area are being trained now as Reiki ones. We've already had one session with animals. Mr. Potato is a white bunny. Rex is a very arthritic old dog. But we're going to have more animals next time, hopefully some chicks and some kittens. But we are going to train these children on how to deal with animals that are injured.
Mm.
I've been doing barn calls for years. I work with horses, large farm animals, small animals, and domestics. And they respond so quickly and so beautifully to Reiki.
Yeah.
I was able to save a horse's eye
Wow.
within 24 hours. He was going to lose his eye because he had no blood flow into his eye after he cut it. And he and I put our blazes together. We put our foreheads together. I Reiki'd his eyes, and within 24 hours, the vet came back and said, "I don't know what you did, but it's a miracle. He's
Wow.
got blood flow in the eye. He gets to keep his eye." He was 26 years old. He was a
Mhm.
26-year-old thoroughbred who lived to be 20. No, 35. He lived
Wow.
another like 9 years after that. So, but yeah, I get to work on a lot of them. The Reiki clinic is going to be at ZenDen, the store I just sold. She still hosts the free Reiki clinic that I started 9 years ago. So the second Saturday of every month at ZenDen, it is a walk-in clinic. You get 15 or 20 minutes of a Reiki session. It's hosted by all Reiki masters. We have retired people in Sun City that come and work. These ladies from Sun City have been coming for 8 or 9 years.
Wow.
So every time we attune new practitioners, we send them down to the clinic for practice and experience.
Yeah.
Um, so she hasn't run the animal clinic in 3 years. So I'm training children to take over the clinic. The kids will be the practitioners. The adults will be the fetching the water, handling the poop bags, and any messes or anything that the kids need. We will be training them to do that. And that clinic will be June 13th, which is the second Saturday in June at ZenDen on Paris Avenue in Port Royal. May 20th, we're going to be doing a clinic for the kids, teaching them how to take a carrier and put it up on a table, just to safely handle animals. And
Mm.
so they're going to get some instruction. And any of the children who haven't already been attuned will be attuned as Reiki ones. And then I think it's the 27th of May, I'll be offering 1 and 2 every other season. So spring and fall, I offer Reiki 1 and 2. Summer, winter, I offer level 3 master. So that I run on the quarters. I've always got a Reiki class going.
Yes. That's how I do it. When I do it, I do the same thing. So we have, I believe so it's on the 23rd, but you're in South
Oh,
Carolina. So
23rd, yeah.
I'm going to put the links, of course, down in the show description. But for
Okay,
everyone listening, you can also write down Susan's website is theartsportroyal.com. I'll put the link to that in the show description, but also the links to your books. I have to say,
fantastic.
it is incredible what you're doing. And I love that having the children be the ones taking care of the animals while the adults are taking care of the kids. That's a beautiful,
The
beautiful
7-year-olds are
offering.
especially excited to be in charge.
But it's a beautiful, it's just incredible. And I love that you also have that a setup where the people after doing training can go down and volunteer at the clinic. It sounds like, and what a turn your life took. Really,
Oh my.
truly, from the way you described things in the beginning to the woman we're sitting here listening to now, and all that you're doing and all that you're able to do is incredible.
Well, it was a cosmic setup.
Hmm.
It was hard to go through the first 40 years of my life,
Yeah,
but I totally get it now. I have so much gratitude
yeah,
for the stability that I have now and the life that I have now, but I would not give back one of those dark days
yes,
because of what it taught me.
right,
And it enriched my life in a way that I don't think people can understand how a tragedy can heal something or how it can enhance something. But once you've gone through that dark night of the soul,
yeah,
you really do come out of it with such a different perspective.
yes,
And it helps me to help others who are in that darkness,
yeah,
the people who are hopeless, the people who are living with chronic pain, the people who are dying. I've been doing hospice work for 42 years. Reiki is a beautiful mechanism for helping them slip out of that meat suit
yeah,
gracefully without struggle. It is beautiful, beautiful at the end of life.
yeah. I actually had that just the way things happen to happen. The first Reiki master training I did, right after that training, I had to fly to Asheville, North Carolina, because unexpectedly, my stepfather, he had fallen into just a weird series of events happened, and then he was in hospice at home. And so I had just finished that training and got to be there by his side, literally as he was passing away. And it was if you would have told me prior to that, I'd say, no way. I don't want to be in the room. I don't want to know. I don't want to see anything like this. But it was really an honor. And I knew that the training that I had just completed supported me in holding space for him. And that time, yeah, it was unbelievable. I wish I could talk to you all day, Susan. You have to come back. You have to
We
come
will we'll
back.
have to do this again. We don't
Please.
have to do it on camera, but we definitely need to do this
Yes, we
again.
do
I
need
cannot
to
wait
do
to
it
meet
again.
you.
I really truly, because there were so many things you said that I wanted to expand on, but I'm like, man, the time is going to go. And then, so I hope we can do both off and on
Okay.
camera.
Okay.
But thank you so much for coming to share all that you have shared. And just to let everyone know again, those beautiful books you can see behind her, the links for all of them are down in the show description. And again, just thank you, Susan.
It was such a pleasure. I'm so grateful to meet you. We'll see each other soon.
Oh,
I'm sure we will.
absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
And we'll see all
Okay.
of you soon as well. Okay, beautiful alchemist. I just want to thank Susan again and let you know, Susan, it was such a pleasure to meet you today, and I look forward to staying in touch. For all of you, be sure to check out Susan's work at theartsportroyal.com. Theartsportroyal.com. The link is down in the show description. And you can also find her on Instagram, same name, at the Arts Port Royal. And I will put the link for that down in the show description as well. Don't forget, you can also get your copies of Susan's books and the anthology that brought us all together. That was done by Mama Ifatayo. The links for all three books are down in the show description. As always, I thank you all for being here and being part of this beautiful community. I will also like to invite you, make sure that you don't miss out on the activation circles next month. So you've probably heard me talk about the alchemy, or not the alchemy circle, I'm sorry, the seeker circle and the Reiki roundtables. Both of these events are really activation circles that are held once a month where you can come in. And yes, we talk about energy work, energy practices, but really it's about activating and guiding you through very activating experiences and practices. So be sure to join us. You can find the links to join by downloading my app. It's called The Energetic Alchemist. So just go to the Apple App Store, or if you have an Android, go to Google Play for Androids, type in The Energetic Alchemist under apps, and it'll pop up. Download, create your free profile, and you can join us for the monthly activation circle. So I will see you there. And that is all for this week. I hope to see you all very soon. Remember to always journey in love.